right. Got my children around me. Got everyone in the room. Happy to be here. Starchild, how you doing today?
I'm a pilgrim and a preacher and a problem when I'm stoned.
Ooh, I like that. Though I've never known you to be problematic when stoned. I'm gonna go on the record and tell you that right now.
You're not my wife.
Pardon?
I said you're not my wife.
This is true. This is true. I cannot deny that.
She wants me to help clean up, and man, that's not gonna happen.
Oh, that's tough. Yeah, trying to get those two things at one after the other, without a doubt. Well, I'm not your life, but I do love you. We all know that. And speaking of love, how's my 3 of clubs doing today?
Doing well, thank you. Hanging in there.
Hanging in there. All right, got those sultry tones out there. We are the Steam Gentlemen. We are back, meeting once again, talking a little bit in our salon as such. I shouldn't be trying those fancy French words. Starchild's got the best grip on French. His family's from Haiti, after all. So, between that or some patois that I won't even really attempt to butcher there. We'll just
that could have gotten bad.
That probably would have. We'll just step back. But my wife speaks some French, so I'll occasionally dip my toe in there. You know how it is. She's Canadian. We got all kinds of international flair going on here. But
what you do in your bedroom is your own business.
Fair enough. All right. Yes, that's what that was what the money that I was leaving on the table before the recording, as Rashawn was pointing out to us. But we are back in our little salon talking about, I want to journey from France, that wonderful language, over to German. The language that even when they are telling you that they love you, sounds like they're threatening to kill you. And before I get too much hate mail on being anti-German, Fink is a German name. Just telling you, people. Okay, I got plenty of love for this Germans, but as scary as the language sounds, they come up with great words, like the fact that they have a word for the joy you take in someone else suffering or tripping and falling and smashing their face on the sidewalk. The fact that they have the word of Schadenfreude, in and of itself, I got to give them some credit, right? That is a fine nation of people.
It's very honest
to come up with an emotion, emotion for it, know the emotion, and pin the word on it, makes it real. That's impressive. But that's not the word I'm talking about today. Today I'm talking about zeitgeist, the spirit of the age. Once again, still sounds like they're coming for you. Zeitgeist. But the idea of the spirit of the age. And I was kicking around this idea and with my fellow gentlemen here, and we wanted to sort of put it to them and hopefully to our listeners, is, I think we are all influenced, right? The very fact that once again, the Germans have this idea of what is in the age, what is the thoughts, and what is the spirit, what's moving us at that particular period and point of time, and what are those common themes and threads that we all feel together. The idea that something like that can move us as a society, and those times that we point to. So, and we tend to point to decades here on the Steam Gentlemen quite frequently. I started thinking about this idea, and here's where we're going to go a little darker than we usually have today on our past subjects. But within the zeitgeist of each age, we can really point to certain things. But also, I started noticing that starting from the 60s, I could bring it back further, but the 60s really seems to coalesce. Starting from the 60s, going up to our current here in the 2000s, the aughts, the 2020s. I guess we're the 2020s now, the 20-aughts, the 2010s. I did like saying aught, I must say. It's a British thing. I'm trying to hit Europe today. I'm hitting Europe hard. I'm leaning into the European thing, like really hard. I'm seeing Rashawn smile right now.
I mean, I haven't heard any Dutch. I don't know where we are with,
Okay.
That's all I just came up with for
Dutch is pretty good though. Dutch it's like Dutch is that kissing cousin of German though, right? Like they're close. They're not exactly the same, but they have some crossover, right?
What about Swedish?
Oh, whatever. I've seen the girl with the dragon tattoo, and between that and my time at IKEA, I don't trust those motherfuckers at all. I'm going to tell you that right now. All right. Everyone's afraid of Russia and China and all that shit. I'm like, look to Sweden, man. Okay.
How's our Gaelic and our Scottish?
Oh, Gaelic. I mean, Gaelic is just one of those amazing languages that I couldn't even attempt to. And I was once, I'll digress real quickly. I was once in a bar and let a beautiful Irish girl up to the bar ahead of me, because you do. That's what it was. Even in LA, it wasn't even in Boston. It was an Irish bar in LA. And she said something in Gaelic, and I said, "You could have just cursed me and my ancestors for 20 generations, and I'd ask you to say it again."
She's Gaelic. She's Gaelic, so she definitely did.
Probably so. I'm like,
but it honestly depends. I mean, any language can be beautiful coming out of a beautiful mouth.
yeah, I'll give you that.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. We're genuinely biased. Gaelic coming from some like 57-year-old Irish drunk. Not sexy.
Not so much. Not as sexy. No.
It depends on what you're into. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say who you should or shouldn't be into. So if you're into old drunk Irish guys, hey, it might sound good.
When we started this, we promised not to kink shame, and
That's right.
I am absolutely sticking to that. I am not kink shaming at all, but I am gonna say, yeah, I'm not fucking that guy.
I think I think you would say you're doing what my therapist would call establishing boundaries.
Yes.
I think it's fair to say that. And she says that's okay. Yeah. So everybody.
And especially because when I think 50-year-old Irish guy, I'm thinking Brian McConnell from Revere.
Oh, yeah, there's that too.
Yeah.
Right.
From Medford.
Yeah. Fuck you, Chucky, and your Irish curse, okay? But coming back, bringing it back in to that zeitgeist of the age, each decade does sort of, come from the 60s, has its kind of distinguishing feature. But also, each one of them, in my own sort of personal musings and I hate to say it, hobbies, because I'm a true crime guy. Okay. And I'm not alone on this. I realize I'm not coming to a support meeting here, but the fact of the matter is that the true crime world is $1 billion industry, or, the millions for sure, and has podcasts completely devoted to it. So I'm not going to bring us into a completely true crime, but each one of them has a sort of infamous killings or something that goes with it that I noticed blended with the zeitgeist of each age. I'm going to get into that a little bit more, and I'm going to give my fellow esteemed gentlemen their chance to give me their thoughts on this as we go forward. We're going to try something a little different today. We're going to go with kind of lightning rounds. I'm going to set a 4-minute timer for each of them, and we will get that chance to sort of hear their thoughts, and we can kind of keep everything a little clear. We've had that time now to, loosen up and have a little fun bullshit talk at the bar. But now I want to get down, dirty, and serious and talk about killing. Talk about the dark stuff, but we are all fascinated by it. And it goes into, that's kind of that question. My question really is, does the zeitgeist make the killer, or do the killers make the zeitgeist? Or is it something in between? Does it something that changes up? So I'm going to start this off here with the 60s. And when you're thinking about the 60s, the place to start is quite obvious. The Manson family. We all know them. We've heard of them. Quite famous. But to me, it was the quintessential statement of the 60s that you were going to get a Manson and his family out of it. What I'm saying by that is you had this hippie counterculture, right? That was so frightening to the mainstream, right? This is the mainstream's worst nightmare. Think about everything. This one guy has this manipulative power, or, appears to, has this influence over men and women. They're all living out on a former ranch in Hollywood, outside of Hollywood. They used to use to shoot Westerns. He's literally calls them the family. He has all kinds of people from all different kinds of walks of life coming from across the country that he's, somehow, because of this overall magnetism and personality he has, though, to be honest, I really do think it took a lot of LSD, but okay, maybe it did take a lot of LSD. It goes back to the kink shaming thing. I don't know, but he has them all there. He doesn't personally commit the crime, right? But he gets these kids to go out and commit heinous acts of murder, all for, by the way, the hope of completely destroying society. And the funniest part about it to me, I shouldn't say funny, the oddest part about it to me is that Manson, his vision was really to kind of reestablish the mainstream. If you really listen to his rantings and ravings, it was the idea of Helter Skelter was going to be the race war between black and white, and he was going to help start it. And then black people would kill white people and win. Once again, I'm really waiting for the out of context takes on this. This is going to be fantastic. But in his own words, and I'll try and preface this as much as I can. In Manson's own words, black people would want some white people to emerge from this cave he had them all in and take back over again. This was the grand plan. I'm not kidding. It seems to get sort of left out sometimes in the telling of the tale. Like they only get to the helter skelter part. They kind of leave out the part that Manson saw himself as the next guy. And that he would again, just emerge, and everyone, these are his own words, that he would, that everyone would just want him to be leader again. But it strikes me as so in tune with what was going on at the time, and what the establishment thought of the counterculture. Right? They really thought, this is what the counterculture is trying to do to us. They want to destroy us. They want to kill us. They want to destroy our American values. And look at all this with this free love and sex and tons of drugs and everything that you could possibly want. So I'm going to turn it over to the three clubs, to Rashawn. I want, you got 4 minutes on the clock starting now. Let's hear what you got to say.
Woo. This actually brings me back to high school track, where I was scared of every single start buzzer because I lost every single race I was in. So thank you for that feeling. It's hilarious because considering our age group, and as Josh pointed out, how we were introduced to the Manson situation, Charles Manson, helter skelter, the Manson family. It was always through this lens of quirky pop culture. Yeah, some people got hurt and killed, but also as part of the wild times of the end of the 60s, which goes further into what I always have felt has been a problem with our country, which is we love to Disneyfy the past and act as if certain elements weren't driving forces to it. Mainly, as Josh pointed out, a very big element when it comes to Mr. Manson is his belief in race and superiority. However, it's funny when you look at his bio, it's weird. As a black man, this is going to sound very interesting to hear from me, but I've actually never really bought into some of that. And here's the reason why. This man was one of the most notorious individuals in the United States at any given point, from basically mid 60s into early 70s. However, you guys want to take a guess at how big this man was?
I believe he was just over 5 feet.
Yeah, he was little. Yeah, he wasn't big.
5'6", with a unibrow, and he shows up with crazy eyes, having people do what he wants to do. I'm not exactly clear on how exactly a 5'6" little dude showing up with a unibrow and crazy eyes got people to do things. However, when you start looking at the rest of some of his background, for example, he was originally part of a military family. And I'm willing to bet that really his connection when it came to finding all these individuals, it was really people coming out of broken families that weren't necessarily quote unquote broken. And he utilized that as his way to manipulate and to get what he wanted, which in some cases, to go with what Josh is asking about, did he affect the zeitgeist or did the zeitgeist affect him? I believe he actually used the zeitgeist of families coming out of old structure where it was entirely patriarchal to the point of abuse, and that what he was really doing was railing against it in the exact same way he wanted a race war. Do I think he was a racist bastard? Sure, why not? And a lot of people were during